Welcome to a rainy and gray Monza, Italy for round number 3 of the 1966 World Sports Car Championship. This is part 17 of my 1966 season where I take on the persona of Richie Axelson and race through a full racing season taking on different events along the way. So the World Sports Car Championship takes us here to Monza for round number 3 after the first 2 opening rounds in the United States with the Daytona 24 hours and the Sebring 12 hour. The sports car season thus far has been a mixed bag for Richie after the highs of winning the first round at the Daytona 24 to the lows of spinning and crashing late with a mess of strategy at Sebring. I'm looking for a little more consistency here at Monza. The race here at Monza was known as the 1000km race and took place over the combined road and oval circuit at Monza, 10 kilometers around per lap for 100 laps to crown the winner. Starting in 1965 to control the high speeds, there was a chicane put in place right at the end of the front straightaway before the cars entered the oval. This was repeated in 1966 by adding a chicane almost in the same place on the back straightaway as well. This dual chicane layout lasted until the end of the 1960s, and in 1970 the series started racing on just the road circuit itself, forever abandoning the oval. So here for the 1966 version of the race, we have quite the challenge ahead of us. Doing the 1/3 distance that I've been doing all season, it's going to be 33 laps around the 10K layout of Monza with the oval, with the 2 chicanes added, and they're extremely difficult to get the car slowed down for. And if you haven't noticed, like I said at the very start of the video, we'll be racing in the wet. This race was run in the raining conditions in 1966, so that'll absolutely add to the challenge. In real life, it was Ferrari that led the way. This race wasn't entered by many of the top teams in 1966 for the World Sports Car Championship. You only scored points for your best 4 rounds, so teams often pick and chose which rounds they would participate in. And in this race, it was really only the Ferrari team that was entered as a top class. So a freshly recovered John Surtees and Mike Parks teamed up in their new Ferrari 330 P3 and won the race handily over some regular Mark I GT40s. For our version of the race, Hollman and Moody have decided to give Richie a little more practice before going to Le Mans, so they've entered the number 5 GT40 Mark II with Richie Axelson and Richie Ginther to take it to Ferrari at their home track. And throughout practice and qualifying, things have gone really well. We'll take a look at the starting grid. There's only 3 of the top class of car entered for this race. We've got 2 Ferraris and the Ford GT40 Mark II. And we have qualified the quickest out of the 3. Richie Axelson, Richie Ginther up top with a 255.5 in the wet, which is not too shabby at all. I think I've got a lot more power than the Ferrari does. And so if I can keep it out of the barriers, keep it on the road, especially passing the slower cars, or some of the slower cars are actually a little quicker through the slower corners than we are with the extra weight and everything. So if I can keep it clean, I think we've definitely got a clear advantage over the Ferraris. But starting in second, John Surtees and Mike Parks, the real winners of the event in the 330 P3, which is a very venerable car, a comparable car to the GT40 with a 256 flat. So 5/10 off in the wet. We'll have to see how that progresses over the race. Lucien Bianchi and Jean Berlays in the Ferrari 365 P2, starting in third. That'll round out the 3 cars in our class. So it's really those 2 competitors you have to watch out for. But of course, there's a whole host of other cars taking part. Maston Gregory and John Whitmore, who finished second in the real race, will be starting at the head of the S2 class in the regular Ford GT40. And they're almost as quicker through some of the corners, a little slower in the straight line. But if things go bad up front, they could actually turn out the victors in this. Further back for the P2 class, the 2 Andres, Andre Wicki and Andre Noor with the Porsche 906, starting back in 13th, first in class, will lead the way for P2. And for the GT class, it's a pair of Ferrari 275s ahead of the 1 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray in the race. Like with the earlier sports car races for 1966, I'm using GTR2 with the Power and Glory mod with a few other mods thrown in, namely the World Sports Car Championship 67 mod. It's not a perfect car set for the race. We've got a mix of the real drivers that raced in this race with a few others just to pad out the field, but absolutely great stuff that everyone's put together. I also got my hands on a beta version of this Monza 1966-1967 version of the circuit, and it's really well put together. I have to thank so much the group at Evolution Modding, especially Bonnier over there, for letting me try this out for the race today. So in some ways, this should be a pretty easy race, but because of the rain and the added chicanes on the track, I actually think it's going to be a pretty tough one to be that consistent for the full distance. A bit shorter than the races were at Daytona and Sebring. 33 laps will still be a pretty good distance. We'll have to stop 3 times during the race. We barely can't make it with 2 stops. So I think we'll stop every 8 laps or so to refuel, change tires. We'll do a driver swap. We'll have to see when it plays out, but I'll start the race. I want to end the race as well. So we'll have Richie Ginther hop in for a stint in the middle. But otherwise, it's going to all be about consistency, making sure I get out in front of the Ferraris, try to lead the way the whole way, all the way to the finish. So this one's been a long time coming, but I'm very excited to do the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. So let's get it underway. All right, so here we are on the grid at Monza. Right up front, bunch of cars in the mirrors, lights are lit. Out, we're underway. Trying to get a run off the line. We got cars right in my mirrors. Oh, a lot of wheel spin off the line there. Ferrari to the right, getting away. One of the 4 GT40s as well. We've got Bianchi sliding in front. A terrible start here. We'll come down to the first chicane. Oh, the Ferrari hit the wall a bit there. Oh, and I got loose coming into the chicane. Car almost spinning out. Trying to get through the chicane on cold tires. I'm on intermediate tires. The rain's not quite heavy enough to warrant full wets, but almost losing the car in the first couple corners, losing a few spots now on the oval banking, but you can see how treacherous those chicanes are going to be for the full race. They'll really plague us the whole time, all 33 laps of it. We'll come down the back straightaway and have to spot braking into the tight second chicane. Brake really early on this opening lap. Got to get those tires up to temperature. Outbraking here, one of the Ferrari GT cars. Ooh, it's going to outbrake us actually. But we'll come in to the chicane, second one here, very similar to the first, equally as tight and treacherous in the wet. But back on the banking, I got one of the 4 GT40s in my rear mirror there. Might be Maston Gregory, or that might have been the one that slipped in front of me off the line, but hectic start. Now take a more traditional route through Monza 10K that we'll all be familiar with. Fly onto the front straightaway, flat out the little cones in the middle separating the 2 straightaways, and head down towards Curva Grande. We got the Ferrari in front, Bianchi going up the inside of one of the GT40s. You can see how much more speed we've got over the Mark 1. Let them have Curva Grande for the first time through here. Just walk it up the inside, not sure how much grip I'm going to have. Slide it through the corner and we'll head down now towards the Lesmos. Just waiting our time, maybe I'll break them here coming into the Lesmos. Don't want to go too deep. Down to first gear, get the car slowed down, now roll it on through. A little more speed here than the GT40 in front, which is surprising. Oh, we got a yellow flag just for a second there. The only cars in front, John Surtees and Bianchi, so was hopeful for a second, but now on the throttle, we'll squeeze up the outside. We'll head under the oval here. Oh, around the outside, car got a little loose, come up to Ascari, which is a very scary corner in the wet. We're in third gear, just a lift of the throttle on the entry, now slide it through. Up to fourth then. Head down towards the Parabolica. Brake plenty early on this opening lap. Just watch my mirrors. Try not to get clobbered from behind. Down to first gear. Really walk it on in. No reason to push too much yet. So we know what we've got in the tires, in the heat, in the grip. Come up to second gear. Car gets a little upset there. Now come on the front straightaway to complete the first lap. Oh, and happy to make it through the lap. The start was absolutely terrible. I have to try to focus forward. Not in such a bad position. I can see the 2 cars in front, so certainly not out of touch. We'll come slow it down for the first chicane. Would be an interesting place to watch the race. Slide a little bit wide on the exit. Get it back on the oval. Up the gears. We've got enough pull on the straightaways that I think I'm actually faster than Bianchi in front as well, but that little Ferrari 365 is awful quick through the corners. And you have to think this is Richie Axelson's first time at Monza since the big crash at the Formula One Grand Prix of 1965, so not sure the fans would have too much good things to say about old Richie here. Slow it down to first gear. You can sometimes fake yourself out by thinking you're going slow enough and then go a little too fast into the corner. Again, especially in the wet, there's just less grip all around. Accelerating up once again. Might have a little bit of a run on Bianchi this time. Flashbacks to Daytona and battling with the 365s there. That track not so different in idea of this version of Monza, with slower parts, faster parts, the big oval sections. I'd say Daytona overall a little more simplistic without these tight chicanes. We'll come down to Curva Grande, down to third gear. Oh, Bianchi in front getting all kinds of loose through Curva Grande. I'm a little worried right now. John Surtees is absolutely gone in front of us. Break it down to first gear for the Lesmos. Just second through the second one. We can roll it through so much slower than in the dry. Ooh, we just tapped the wall on the exit. I think the car will be okay, but don't want to be doing things like that at the start of an endurance race. Even though this is a slower endurance race, it's still an endurance race. I need to pace myself a bit more. And the clock will say 2 hours, but it is a 33-lap race. Shifted all the way down to first gear into the Parabolica. Easy to go wide here, outbrake yourself, especially in the dry, or if you're trying to pass other cars, you'll think you can go a little bit deeper than you actually can. Get onto the straightaway. We can already see one of the Porsche 904s. He's way off the pace to be on the same straightaway, but this is one of the things I love about this version of Monza, being able to race down the straightaway side by side with cars on the other half of the lap. Come down to first gear into the chicane again. Just clipping the edge of the curbs. So we're holding station with Bianchi in front. Surtees pulling away. Just wasn't able to get off the line with the standing start. In the wet conditions, you can hear cars flying under the oval under us there. Just see Surtees dipping into the chicane ahead now. The flashing beacon above, which in these conditions actually helps just highlight where that chicane is, remind you, especially if you've been racing on the regular oval version of this track. This is a pretty short-lived configuration of Monza. I think a lot of folks don't really know that it existed with the chicanes. From what I can tell, just raced in sports cars from 1965 through 1969. Got cars already dipping out of the pits, which is interesting. Maybe some issues with some of those cars. A lot of red and yellow cars were in Italy, of course. Alfas and Ferraris are aplenty. Bianchi once again quite wide. Ooh, he might have hit the guardrail there through Curva Grande. I'm sliding a little bit wide. Tried to carry a little bit more speed that time, but the car just won't grip in the wet condition. If the rain lightens up a little bit, we might form a little bit of a dry line, catching a slide there on the way into the first Lesmo. Roll it on through the second. Trying to push a little bit to see if I can catch up to Bianchi, because I'm catching up to him on each of the straightaways, but through the slower corners he's able to pull out just a little bit. Much lighter Ferrari, so it makes sense, but I want to try to find my advantage where I have it. Get up to fourth gear for just a second here. And braking maybe still a little early, but I definitely don't want to push it this early. Just guide the car out of the Parabolica. Really easy to spin it out there. Shifting up the gears especially, I've found. Come across the line, already start lap number 4. So we could go probably 10 laps or so on a full tank, but can't quite make it to that 11 lap mark, which would be perfect to do a 2-stopper. In practice and testing, I've tried to save a little bit of fuel by not running as hard, but you can already see the Ferraris in front are running it full out too. So I don't think we'd make up the amount of time needed by stopping just twice. So we'll go with the 3-stopper. Stop at lap 8. That'll bring us to about halfway. Maybe lap 9 if we can stretch it. Just get it into the second chicane. You can see under braking, I can feel the car getting away. Whoa, under acceleration there, sliding quite a bit. It's very wet and slippery. We've pulled out a little bit from the car behind, still just barely holding on to Bianchi here, but disappointed I'm not a little bit faster than I am. Have to owe it to the wet conditions. Maybe want to go to full wet tires in the pit stop, I'm not sure. Down to Curva Grande this time, try not to throw it wide. Already catching a slower car I can see ahead. Nice and close to the curb on the right. It's one of the 904s. 904s seem to be struggling around the track. I'm not sure if they have the high end that's needed. This track's all about speed, so you'll get some interesting car orders. Doesn't reward the cars that are quick through the corners. So some of the Porsches, especially in this era, just aren't quite as quick. Built more for tracks like the Targa Florio. We'll come into Ascari. Oh, Bianchi being held up there by the 904. Are we going to be able to get around him? Let's see if I can slide to the left. Oh, on the grass. No, almost spinning the car out. Somehow holding on to it, but that 904 just right in the way. Bianchi's swaying from side to side. I think he tried to go up the inside into Ascari and wasn't able to do it, but able to get the position then on Bianchi. Try to hold on to it. That 904, quite quick through the slower stuff, but we'll just pull right away on the straightaway. Come across the line. Complete another lap up to second place then. You can see Surtees just pulling away on the straightaway in front. Come into the chicane. We got Bianchi right behind me now, but if I can exit the chicane first, should be able to pull out a little bit on the straightaway. Just let the legs of the GT40 go, give us a little bit of a gap. Just enough so he can't close up through the second chicane as well. Ugh, scary stuff through Ascari though. Luckily able to make it past, although dipping on the grass there for a second. Down to first gear, quite slow, a little slower than I need to be maybe. Just playing it easy, still very early on. It's been my downfall at the other endurance races so far. I was lucky to get away with Daytona with a couple spins, mostly caused by traffic, but late in the race too, going into turn 1. So I want to avoid that type of thing and pace myself better. I'm going to win the 24 of Le Mans. Onto the straightaway though, we've got Corvette there in front with a Ferrari getting past. Fly on by our compatriot car. Down to third gear for Curva Grande. A little fast on the entry. Settles in nice though. A little more grip than before. Ooh, almost steps out on me. But a slight gap now on Bianchi. We'll see how I hold up through the Lesmos. Traffic sometimes can make all the difference. sitting out here in the pouring rain. There we go, through the second Lesmos, nice and smooth. Come through Ascari, a little less dramatic this time. Run it right off to the runoff there. Can see a car ahead. Is that Surtees? Might be a slower car at this point. I don't know where Surtees has gone. That 330 doing quite well in the wet compared to the dry weather. I had him covered in the dry, but I think we're quite a lot slower in the wet. Just tough searching for the grip. Back on the straightaway. Come across the line to complete lap number 5, start lap number 6. It's already getting deep into the stint. Just roll it on through. Looks more mundane than it maybe needs to be, but it's so easy to lose the car. I'm sure I will a little bit at one point. Just want to keep it off the barriers there. Bianchi's still just in the mirror, just enough to remind me that he's there. Closing up on one of the Ferrari GT cars. Maybe catch him coming into the chicane. Hopefully he's pretty quick through here. This might be the Lotus. I think there's one Lotus in the race. Ooh. Just clipping the curb there, almost spinning the car out again. Come around, second curve of the oval. Yeah, this looks like the Lotus. Let's see if maybe he's gonna drift out wide. No, he keeps it on the low side, getting held up a little bit. We've got cars on the right side there. Would be awesome as a spectator to watch a race on the 10K circuit, to see cars going by on the straightaway basically twice a lap. Get double the fun as a spectator. It's equally as awesome when driving. Down to the Lesmo, down to first gear. So confidently in second place now, 10-second gap behind to who I think Bianchi will be behind me. About 15 seconds though in front to Surtees, which is much further than I thought. Than I definitely thought we'd be. Oh, sliding out wide through Ascari. Gotta watch that as well, getting really close to the barrier on the exit. Just cooks it on through the Parabolica. Got some cars in the pit lane again. Quite a few cars in there. I wonder if the wet conditions are causing a little more attrition. A couple cars coming out of the pit lane. Oh, no! Corvette coming out of the pits hits us right front. Able to get back onto the right part of the circuit, but I have damage. Wow, I didn't think he was going to move over that much. Certainly wasn't looking in his mirror. The car feels okay. I don't know if we'll get a penalty for something like that, crossing the center line of the circuit, but it really wasn't our fault. Come past the 67 car. I think it's a French-entered Corvette. Scary stuff there. I think the car's okay. We'll have to see when we come into pit. It's braking relatively straight, so I think I got away with that. But man, already 2 times in this race with the slower traffic causing an issue. Things seem well under control right up until they're not. try to just focus forward, though. I think I got away with another scary one. Ooh, car got a little weird there. Through the corner, right up to the guardrail on the left side. I had to dip out of it for just a second. Up to fourth gear. I'll turn on my lights, maybe so we can see some stuff better. Car in front has its lights on as well. This might be one of the Ferraris. A gray Ferrari. A little slow coming into Curva Grande. Just try to take a tidy line through here. Don't want to run wide in the wet. Deep into the Lesmo. I had it in second gear there. I need first for the extra torque of the engine. Helps slow the car down. The engine braking, even in the GT40, quite important. Get the wrong gear, the car just won't turn the same as it does. Try to scoop past this Ferrari before Ascari. Make sure nothing goes weird there. It's a beautiful car. We're coming to complete lap 7, so might get ready for the first pit stop here. Can flag to the crew this time that next time by will be coming in. Oh, getting a little loose there. And I think the Ferrari's in, Surtees is in, so we'll take over the lead here. But just for a lap, we'll flag that we want to come into pit, stick our hand out the window. Oh, the Ferrari as well. No! Oh. Getting smacked twice then on the right side. I think we got away with that one too. Oh. Have to absolutely watch cars coming out of the pits. Give him a little signal out the window. That car got jumped in the air that time, just a little bit. Oh, a little sideways there. I might have a little bit of damage, actually. Don't want to race the rest of this race with damage, but I feel like that was not my fault at all. It's just coming out of the pits. It's almost no time to react to go to the right on them. See if we can get the car. It felt fine through the chicane. So equal opportunity, hitting a Corvette and a Ferrari already. Up to fourth gear. Still have the lead. But quite scary stuff both times right there. Come up catching a yellow Ferrari as we come up to Curva Grande. Down to third gear. Car still handling quite nice, so lucking out. Got damage just as high as it was for the other races, so sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get lucky twice, but I have a feeling the luck is running out. Probably a good time to give the car to Richie Ginther. Tell him to be extra careful out there. Come through the second Lesmo, second gear, power away. To fourth gear for Ascari. Always scared the car's not actually going to grip there and turn in. Luckily it does. Fast headed down now towards the Parabolica. We've got a few cars in front. I think one of the Alfa Romeos. And a second down to first, taking it a little bit easy. All right, we'll head into the pits for our pit stop. Crew is out, get it down to first gear. So pitting in from the lead after the first stint, leading the way, Richie Axelson, Richie Ginther up front, not without many close calls there. The lapped cars coming out of the pits, especially two pretty big hits, second one getting us off the ground, but somehow the car still feels okay. I'm not convinced the suspension isn't damaged a little bit. The order a bit shuffled because of the pit stops, but John Surtees, Mike Parks, just having made their stop, back in fourth currently overall, but just a couple S2 cars in the way. And Lucian Bianchi back in ninth right now after making the pit stop as well. So we'll see where Richie Ginther comes out. Otherwise, Herbert Mueller up there in second overall with the S2 class. Gerhard Mitter and Hans Hermann in the 906 leading the way for P2. And then for the GTs, it's the Ferrari 275 of Siegfried Zwimfer up front leading the way. So Ginther put together a great stint and kept us out front, actually battling with Surtees for much of the stint. But oddly enough, Surtees had to pit a bit early, pit after 7 laps in our first stint, and again after 7 laps or so in the second stint. So I think he might actually be short for getting to the end. Maybe that Ferrari is taking a bit more fuel. So I have to see how that plays out. But as it was neck and neck. Ginther was able to close up that lead quite a bit and make sure Surtees knew we were there. For the S2 class, Guy Ligier in the GT40 Mark I made an absolute storm up the field from 8th after the first stint, all the way into second place overall after this second stint. So looking to see how that Ford France team does, but doing well so far. For P2, Gerhard Koch and Udo Schutz in the 906, taking it over from the Andres and Gerhard Mitter, Hans Hermann. They're all fighting. Great battle with all the 3 906s. And for the GT class, it's still the Ferrari 275s leading the way. So pulling it out of the pit lane here at Monza after another successful pit stop. It says we're in 4th place right now. I think I saw the Ferrari 330 go by. We got one car coming up on my left. Got cold tires coming down to the chicane, so I want to take it nice and easy. Oh, we're going to be side by side, I think. Whoa, might have got tapped from behind. This is one of the 365s behind me. Not Bianchi, though. I think that's the Lorenzo Bandini machine, actually. Maybe getting me back a little bit here at Italy, but able to pull away from them. They're really not very quick in this race so far. So we're in 4th, about 9 seconds off the car in front. I'm not sure exactly who's ahead, but I think it is Surtees. You can see a red car up there. That might be him. Head towards the chicane. I don't think so. They're quite slow. We'll see here. Things get all mixed up during the middle of these endurance races, and it's kind of neat for that. You're just kind of driving, and in some of the longer ones, the 24-hour races, it's really just all about doing your own pace. The 1000 kilometers, you can definitely tell how much shorter it is than the 12 or the 24-hour races. Even in its abbreviated 1/3 distance here, it's still a decently long race, definitely longer than a Formula race would be, but in the sports car world, absolutely a sprint race. So fly down the front straightaway. We're on lap 17 now, so we're just about halfway through the race. and should have to pit on the strategy I'm on one more time, and that's going to be interesting for how it works out. Oh, we'll slow down a little early here for Curva Grande. Maybe could have slid it up the inside there. Got a Ferrari in front, I think. I should have to pit one more time, hoping to get to about lap 25 to pit, then should be able to make it to the end. And I think the question is whether or not Surtees in that 330 is actually going to make it the distance on one more stop. I think they're going to have to pit twice, so we might have a massive advantage here. If I can just keep the car on the road, I'm not that far off Surtees, I don't think, although I think we lost some time through the pit stops. Could make sense if they're short filling or have less fuel to put in overall. See if I can close it up like Ginther did during his stint. But we'll just double stint it here at the end and try to finish this one off. A little less dramatic than my first stint. Come through a Scari though, it's going to be interesting on the exit here. Slap the inside of the 14. Slow it down for the Parabolica. Quite dim day. Should be the middle of the day right now, but with the rain and everything, it's quite dark. It almost makes it look like evening. Nothing like the nighttime driving though. Spit it out onto the front straightaway. We got a Alfa Romeo there, I think. We'll come across the line though. So still in fourth place. I was hoping I might pick up a spot or something from some pit stoppers. Alphas are such a loud car. It makes it hard to break down listening to the engine in my own car. It into 7 seconds now, so might be some lap traffic ahead. I see one of the blue Alpines actually in front. Quite an interesting looking car, passing one of the Porsche 904s. Or trying to get it in first gear. Should just have enough gap on them for it not to slow me up here. Hopefully pass them on the front straightaway. The outside of one of the Alpines. Actually see the other one ahead too. Got an Alpha on the straightaway next to me. There's cars everywhere. One's all spread out, passing one of the 904s. Oh, we got Bianchi there in the yellow Ferrari I can see on the right, coming into the chicane. I think he's behind me at this stage. On a third gear. Few cars in front. Oh, I saw some debris on the track there, so maybe some contact ahead. No yellow flags or anything. That might actually be Surtees up there. And one of the GT40s actually might be catching that GT40 for position. The GT40 Mark 1s are definitely slower in a straight line, but they're... Oh! A spun out car in front. I think that's Surtees. He might have got tangled with the GT40 up ahead. I can see he's pulling away behind me, but I was able to get around John Surtees, spinning out through the second Lesmo. Did not expect that at all. Happy he was clear of the track. We got one Alpine in front of me here. So if I can squeeze up the left side, maybe. But I've lost him down my rear view. No clue if he has damage or anything. Down to first gear for the Parabolica. That Alpine's going to be pretty quick through the Parabolica. A little bit quicker through the corners than I am. We should pull away easily once we get on the straightaway here. There we go. So it's GT40 in front. I'm in third place still, so I passed Surtees for fourth, or for third. He's back and forth. I'm in second now, actually, so passed the car in the pit lane. I think this white GT40, that might be Guy Ligier, actually, but right in front of me is in the lead. The Alpine closing up through the chicane. Should definitely pull him here on the straight, though. Weird stuff happening at Monza after 19 laps. Getting close to the 10 to go mark. Past one of the Alphas, come down to the chicane. I haven't blown a chicane yet, which I'm saying it, so it'll probably happen soon, but it's been one of my concerns. You get a penalty if you do that twice. So you're able to get through the chicane one time, I think just to account for maybe a car dive bombing you or something. We'll come through the outer banking though, get it lined up for the front straightaway, nice and low on the exit, make sure we don't wash out wide, get it up to fourth gear. Come across the outer start finish line. I can see the GT40 in front, so are absolutely closing in a straight line, like gaining a little bit each lap. They might be pulling me through some of the corners, just being nice and precise. Don't want to make a mistake like Surtees did there and spin out. Easy to do in the rain though. The wet conditions, definitely not what you want for a motor race. Get a little closer, can catch the number on the car, but I think it would be Guy Ligier. Touch the grass on the left side, pulls you a little bit. The grass here is so sodden and wet, it actually pulls you off the track if you touch it. I think Ligier's in the 52 car, so for Ford France. Got lined up for Ascari, pulling in nicely now. Impressive that they're up front, but maybe the fuel mileage a bit better. Yeah, it's the 52, so it's Guy Ligier's car. Slow it down for the Parabolica here, just sliding behind. Rear end kicks out a little bit. He might have to pit soon. I don't know what kind of strategy they're on. The yellow flag there for just a second. Maybe cars exiting the pits. We got to be extremely careful. It'd be so easy if I don't get damaged by them hitting me coming out of the pits to hit like that center barrier or slide into any of the walls. End the race so quickly. Hit the curbing there in the exit of the chicane. We're on lap 20 now, and I want to try to make it to lap 25, which I should be able to do. We'll pit one more time, fill up on everything, and be able to get to the end of the race. To see if Ligier is on the same strategy or not. Come up behind 67 Corvette. We've met once before. The first pit lane exit incident. Good to see we're both still in the race though, two American cars. Closing in ever so slightly on the GT40. We'll get quite close by the end of the straightaway here, but not quite enough to dive up the inside for Curva Grande. No need. Whoa, and he goes very deep into the braking zone, taps the wall on the outside. Won't want to be doing that. Maybe slid out wide because of the water. Kept his foot in it. What a guy. Through the second Lesmo there. Oh, rear end almost gets away from me. It might look like I'm babying the car around the circuit, but there's no grip at all. It's really, really easy to spin the car out, so you have to be extra gentle on everything. I've learned my lesson, hopefully, from Sebring and pushing the car too hard. Just just lose more time than you gain. Things are working out so far. Just keep the pace up. Closing up here, GT40 going to pass. Guy Ligier going to pass one of the Alphas. Out of first gear for the Parabolica. Roll it in. Kicking the rear end out again. Just a little too much accelerator there. Have to drive like you've got an egg under the gas. A little bit closer than I've been to Ligier now. Down to first gear for the first chicane. Alpha closes up behind me ever so slightly, but able to keep in front of him. We'll pull him on the straightaway. Towards the grass on the exit of the corner. Let it slide out wide. Spot the braking just after the 400 marker there. This is the easiest one, in my opinion, to overshoot. You're going quite a lot faster through there than you are towards the first chicane. So to give the car plenty of time to slow down. Better to accelerate fast out of it. A lot of transitions to the different banking and surfaces, so it's really bumpy getting on the track, even in the dry. Quite easy to spin the car out. All right, we've got a little bit of a run now on Ligier in the GT40. See how close I can get in the slipstream down the front straightaway. Should be much quicker than him, but the wet conditions, I think, are equalizing us a lot more. Pulling in on him now. Go towards the inside. Try not to overdo the braking. Get it down to third gear. Get the Lotus now in front of me. He swings to the outside. He's going to run the wall again. Oh, he's coming around the outside. We're still side by side. Where is he? Don't want to make contact. There he is behind me. Come down to the Lesmo. Block the inside line. Down to first gear, try to keep it nice and tidy. He's going to try to swing around the outside of me. Oh, there he goes. So Ligier able to get me in the Lesmos. Try to get him on the exit here. Understeering, oversteering. As I add the throttle now. Accelerating out. Should have a pull on him, but it's going to be right as we get to Ascari. Going to jump up the inside of him. On the inside, quite risky maneuver. So come up on the Lotus as well. Oh, he's going to jump to the outside of the Lotus. I'll split him to the inside. I think I saw him sliding wide. Oh! Guy Ligier spins out behind me. Just saw him in the mirror there. I wasn't able to look at it. Gotta get it slowed down for the Parabolica, but I think he got collected with the Lotus as we tried to split him on the exit of Ascari, which is not a place you'd want to do that. Got to calm down from that one. We got Bianchi there flying to the outside, but I've taken the lead of the race now. Gonna start lap 22 of 33. So 2/3 into the race. No idea if Bianchi's out or not. We got about a 9-second lead now to the car behind, whoever it is. Both of the other fast cars taking themselves out then. I think I definitely had the pace on Ligier being in the Ford GT Mark I. It's a much slower car than the Mark II. But with the rain and everything, it was surprisingly fast. I still think I could have passed him fair and square there. I had several runs, was just trying to pick where I could get by him. But now I'll try to plot forward. Might have a fuel advantage then. Oh, let's just get a little loose on the entry there. Almost slide to the right. Got a fuel advantage, I believe, on John Surtees in the 330 P3. And with Guy Ligier spinning out, I don't know who the competition is now. Got a car 8 seconds back, gained a little bit. Might be Surtees trying to make a charge back after his spin. Pass. I think that's one of the Comstock GT40s here. Come down towards the first corner of the Lesmo. or Curva Grande rather, down to third gear. Just plotted in, no need to slide wide. Ligier was running right on the edge of the track. It's just not going to work out if you keep doing things like that. Down to first gear. Pulled out a little bit on whoever is behind. So I feel like it's our race to lose now. Just a few more laps till the final pit stop. We've got one of the 906s up there, I believe, coming up on an Alpha, or a Ferrari rather. Do anything too wild here, see if I can slip it up the inside. Oh, it's still so tight there, but gotta do it. Can't wait. So caught to the Parabolica. 300 marker here. Get it down to first gear. It's one of the long-tail Porsches. Not sure if the long-tails would have actually raced here or at Le Mans where they made their debut. But a very cool car, the extra aerodynamic bodywork. Got a car in the pit lanes there. A few of them, I think, might be Guy Ligier in there. Definitely would need new tires after that whole move, if not a new front end to the car. We lost a position somehow now. Back to second. Maybe a car in the pits somehow jumped us, but we'll see if we get that back next time by. That wouldn't make any sense unless there was a scoring error of some kind. The inside need to bring the car to the outside. I was making the pass there on the Porsche. Distracted by the scoring change, but somehow we're in second place, 46 seconds behind someone in front. They're just gaining a little bit there. So I have no idea how that would be possible. Oh, they're gone now, so back to first. So some kind of weird scoring error, which would not be uncommon for the 1960s. Obviously something strange going on with the sim there, but all of the scoring for these races was done on paper with pencil and stopwatches and a lot of different people. Basically a team of people assigned to every car that all they did was track what position it was in during these long races. So if you look back through history, you always wonder what race results are actually correct, especially in these endurance races. It'd be so easy for there to be some sort of mistake. Luckily, that one corrected for us. Come up behind this Alpha here, follow him through the Lesmos, be a little quicker here than us, just power to weight a little bit better. We'll get him definitely down the straightaway, a little bit loose on the exit. Dive up the inside a long time before any kind of risky corner. Nice easy pass for once. Come up to Ascari, finally not following anybody for a lap. Just nose it on in. Should be pretty much a flat out corner in the dry, but in the wet, such a sketchy turn. Come up on another Alpha here. Get him just to the inside before the Parabolica. Out of first gear, make sure we flip the throttle plenty to make the rear end stick. Get it up the gears. A few cars diving into the pits. Should have a couple more laps in it before we need to do that. Seems like there's a mess of cars in the pits, so hopefully that gets sorted out before our pit stop. Don't want to deal with that. We've got a minute and a half lead now and whoever's behind, so things are going quite well here at Monza despite all the action and drama. It's definitely not been an easy race thus far, but hoping this last stint or so goes nice and clean. We got one more lap to do after this before the pit stop, but But we'll definitely judge that pit lane. I should actually have enough fuel to do a couple laps, so if we need to go another lap to make sure things clear up, we'll definitely do that. Pulling up now on another Porsche. Such a small car, low to the ground. Just going to be behind him in the braking zone for the chicane, probably drop in place. Much lighter car than the Ford GT40. Less power though. But a great car for the tighter circuits where top speed isn't really going to gain you anything. Make an easy pass to the outside though, get it on the front straightaway. We'll take a sneak peek at that pit lane. Alright, things look slightly clearer there than before. Still got another whole lap to do. Third gear for the Curva Grande, almost locking up the tires. Stepped on the brakes a little too much. Through the second Lesmo. Take first gear for the first one. You don't need as much torque steer in the car to get it through the second. So you can leave it in second gear, then maximize the acceleration out of the corner. Clear track in front now, which is great. Pass under the oval there. Up to fourth gear through Ascari. Attrition absolutely take hold now. Up until the last stint where Ginther got out of the car, there was only 2 cars out of the race, so interested to see at the end of this how many more have retired. But there's been quite a few incidents throughout it. Absolutely be some beat up cars at the end of this one. I think in real life, there's some pictures of cars finishing without hoods and various fenders and bodywork missing. All right, we got one car actually in my pit stall, but we'll signal to the crew next time by, hand stuck out the window, do the final pit stop of the race. Less than 10 laps to go now. Nice and easy through the chicane. Still got that minute and a half lead. To fourth gear for just a second. We'll spot the braking right at about 350. A couple cars entering the oval in front. Guided in to the second chicane. We're going to run a little bit wide there through the second apex. Correct it on the exit. Try to run right to the fence on the outside. But since we're accelerating, we don't really need to run the high side of the track, which you absolutely would run if you're just doing the oval without the chicanes. But since we're going much slower, we can actually take the bottom side, much less risky. It's obvious why they added the chicanes. You can see the pit crew laid out, passing a Ferrari here on the front straightaway. Come down to Curva Grande. On a third gear, just guide it in. Start overthinking yourself when you're in these positions. In the lead, a healthy lead. See where we come out of the pits, but gotta imagine after everything cycles, we should still have that lead. Seemingly, Surtees out of the way because of fuel. And Guy Ligier doing it to himself. Absolutely have to pit this time, so hopefully the pit lane is clear. right to the outside there. An extra little runoff from the short junior course that comes on the track. Brake just before the 300 marker. A couple cars ahead. Hopefully they stay out on the track and don't pit. Ooh, almost over revving on the downshift there. A little less aggressive with those. All right, guided around the parabolica. Try to accelerate out, but we'll aim it towards the pit lane. Looks like everything's all clear. Thankfully, pit crew there. Down to first gear. We'll just roll it on in. All right, crew lowers me. Start the car. There we go. Get it in gear. Roll away out of the pits. So we've kept the lead. It's closing up behind 20 seconds. We should still have it as we exit the pit lane. All right, there we go, onto the track. 16 seconds now, but still have the lead. We'll come down, try not to blow the first chicane. Been able to stay on the track the whole race. Just one set of cold tires here to try to get up to temperature. Roll it on through. Good amount of grip there. We'll get it on the oval and accelerate away. All right, so the pit stop went pretty well. Car behind actually losing time, so maybe they've come into the pits as well. But able to stay in the lead throughout the pit stop, which is better than I could have hoped for. So all we have to do now is put together a good set of laps here at the end. We're on lap 26 of 33 overall. Brake hard then for the second chicane. Down to first gear, guided in. But so far, this has been a story of just the competition basically taking themselves out. We've got to see a good amount of it, which is really rare. But both crashes with John Surtees spinning out through the Lesmo. Have to think there was a car involved with that. And a few cars in the pits there. But then also, Guy Ligier making a crazy 3-wide move. Maybe I was the one that made the move, but one of us should have backed out, and I think it should have been him. Get it down to third gear behind one of the smaller Ferraris. Down to first gear here for the Lesmo. To second gear. Smaller Ferrari in front, very quick through the slower corners, but should be able to get him quite easily on the straightaway. Pretty much the story, as I've been saying it, of every car in the race. A couple more cars ahead of him, just really spotting that lap traffic now. Just want to try to get to the end of this as smoothly as possible. Got 47 seconds to play with at this point, so not going to do any crazy moves. We should get around the inside there. Just give it that extra second. We can afford a little extra breathing room. 2 Alfa Romeos in front, duking it out with one another down to first gear here. We'll come through Parabolica. Got that Ferrari coming back on me to the left. He might get me on the exit here. Should absolutely pull him on the straightaway. Got a little bit of a yellow flag, maybe some cars coming out of the pits. Oh. Down to second gear up the inside of one of the Alphas. They're braking as well. It's too many cars for this late in the race. Behind him, we'll take the low side, we'll rock it around the outside. Finally got through all of them, got one Porsche in front of me now. Follow him into the chicane again, I'll back out of that, no need to push the issue. Down to first gear. Just nipping the curbs there to the left and to the right. Slide a little bit wide through the second apex, but no matter. Compromise ourselves on the exit. Rock it away. the Chicanes a much more technical track than even Le Mans is. Le Mans, of course, the Mulsanne Straight, no chicanes at all. Relatively fast track, just all around, not too many slower corners. We'll slide the number 5 Hollman and Moody GT40 there through Curva Grande, down towards the Lesmos. Brake just before that 200. You can push it a little bit if you're trying to do an overtake, but no need. A bit of a short shift in the wet just prevents spinning the tires at all. Ran wide through the second Lesmo, but collected up. Got a nice clear track in front of me now, at least for the rest of this lap. Up to 4th gear, around Ascari. Ooh, I touched the grass just a little bit. Try not to run wide. Just back out of it quite a lot. Down to the Parabolica, 1st gear. Oh, car bogs down in 2nd, gets a little sideways under acceleration. Got one of the GT40s, it might have been Ligier actually. Brake right at the 300 board for turn 1. So easy to miss. There's a lot going on the straightaway, especially if you have cars coming out of the pit lane or anything. So we're on lap 28 now. There's 5 more to go. Plenty of fuel to make it to the end. Got almost a minute lead now on 2nd place. I feel like on this track you hear engine sounds in so many places that aren't close to you, and normally on a racetrack if you hear a competitor's engine it's because they're right behind you or right in front of you or right beside you. But at this track, because the circuit passes under itself, because you have these 2 straightaways side by side, there's just always car noise happening. You have to really keep your head on a swivel, especially in a day like this where there's absolutely no radio communication of any kind. Down to 3rd gear for the Curva Grande. Down to 1st gear. Oh, try not to slide the car too much. Probably want to raise 1st gear a bit. I don't know how much control they have over gear ratios, but 1st gear is a little too high in this car, especially for a track like this where there's, except for the chicanes I guess, no real slow corners. Definitely the chicanes need 1st gear. Come out of Ascari behind another Porsche. Like this is all I've been catching the past few laps. Come up to the inside towards the Parabolica. Brake plenty early. I expect he'll be a little bit quicker, so I'll hold the inside. He can just rock it around the outside if he wants. Get up to 2nd gear. A little loose there. There we go. Accelerate away, down the front straightaway. On the brakes for the opening chicane, down to 1st gear. A little bit fast through the center there, but I had the Porsche rocketing up behind me. slow there on the entry for the second chicane. Just getting the GT40 slowed down. Passing a car there on the straightaway, could just hear him behind me, another GT40. A few cars going in the pits, so I think there's a bunch of cars making their final pit stop. Absolutely nailed the strategy here with Hollman and Moody. That NASCAR expertise. Come in behind a Ferrari into the first corner. We'll just lay back a little bit. I think that's a 250. But it was good. If I had tried to push the number of laps that I could do on a stint, we would have ended up in an awkward place where the final pit stop would have been just before the end of the race, with a few laps to go like everybody's pitting now. So made the stints more even, maybe just getting better fuel mileage or have a bigger tank or something than the Ferrari. Also, the Ferrari has not been without incident, with John Surtees spinning out. Could be damage that the car picked up, making him pit earlier or additional time. So much could have happened during the race. We'll come up the inside of this Ferrari. Get it down the gears for the Parabolica. Down to first gear on the inside. It's going to be quite quick in that little car. Come around the outside of us. There he goes. To second gear. Oh, he's going to dive in the pit lane too. Good thing he actually got in front. All right, up to third gear. We'll come to start lap 30. Just 3 more to go. We'll slide the rear end out a little bit. It's fast if you can really slide the car through there, but more risky, especially in the wet. Clear track in front. I don't see anybody coming through the chicane or anything. Be sure not to outbrake. There go a couple cars. All right, so we're not totally free. Oh, a lot of oversteer there coming in. Almost full lock to correct the car. Luckily able to get through that. Don't want to have any kind of lazy spins. 1.5 minutes sounds like a lot until you're sitting backwards at a narrow point in the track and trying to spin the car around. Onto the front straightaway. You can see one car in front. To the Curva Grande here. Down to third gear. It's one of the 904s with the Lotus behind him. 2 of the smallest cars on the grid in size. It's quite nervous for passing here. I'll try to snake it up the inside into the Lesmos. Oh, quite late on the brakes. Oh, it's sliding out wide. No, half spin. Try to gas it up to spin the car back around. So finally 30 laps into the race, having a lazy spin there while trying to outbrake the 2 much faster through the corners cars. I got away with that one, so luckily not hitting the wall. All right, don't need to be doing anything like that. Hopefully didn't wear any of the tires out too much spinning them like that, but I was trying to just get going again. Oh, it's moments like that you absolutely don't need at the end of a longer race. Thought I was going into the wall there for a second, but was able to slow the car down enough. And luckily the 904 just missed me from behind because he swooped in as well. Slowed down now. No dramatics here through the Parabolica. the 904 pits as well. The car coming out of the pits in front, come to the line, start the 31st lap. Forget it all ever happened. Car coming to the left of the GT40s. Need to find my way around a couple of these cars. Won't be too many more to pass. Running out of laps. But rocket up on the Lotus here. Tiny Lotus. Be terrifying to drive with all these very fast and very heavy cars around you. Slide in behind this Ferrari for the chicane. Oh, the Lotus behind us. No, he hits me. Oh. No, and I spun out as well. Oh, it's all coming apart here right at the end. Try to pull away. I don't know what happened there, but he just rocketed into the back of me. Like getting back on the gas is so easy to spin. It really shows how easy it is to spin out, but pretty much 29 perfect laps up to this point. And then finally, just a couple laps to go. The circus starts, but hopefully we get by this Lotus. Coming into the first corner, Curva Grande. Easily able to do it there. Get this Ferrari as well. Come up the inside. Break down to third gear. We'll just hold the inside line. If he wants to go around the outside, he can. Oh, he's able to do it too. Down to the Lesmos, let him have the corner. Rolled through the second Lesmo. I got my eye on the mirror for the Lotus behind. Stayed in front of him, should be able to pull him on the straightaway here. It's not the type of incident. You don't want any incidents at the end of a race, but definitely don't want silly things with the slower cars. Come up the inside of the 14 here. Oh, so difficult through Ascari. Come down to Parabolica. As much speed as possible through there, but where I'm losing it is in the slow speed stuff. Maybe could have more downforce on the car, I don't know. Wanted that top speed, so I pretty much took all the downforce off the car. Come over the line. Just a couple more laps now. If I can make it through all these lapped cars, got the Alphas around me. Side by side behind. I got one more Alpha in front. Should hopefully be able to get him before the chicane here. Pinch him down a little bit. Oh, the car gets so light there on the exit. That's why you have to pinch the corner. You don't want to slide out wide. All right, come down. Oh, I broke a little late there. Get it down the gears. Try to slow the car down. I got the Corvette in front. Down to first gear. No. Oh, through the hay bales there. Have to cut the chicane now. Oh, man. I'll make an absolute mess of the hay bales. Somehow at the end of the race, just it's all falling apart. The lead is still there, minute 27 now. Hopefully won't get a penalty. I think that's my first time coming through the chicane at all. We'll come down to Curva Grande here, up the inside of the Corvette. Down to third gear. Just balance it nice and easy. Finishing this anything but strong. Just need the last lap and a half here to be clean. second, down to first. Could be the tires getting old as well, but run just as long in other stints and it wasn't an issue. We'll come through the second Lesmo, pushed out wide a little bit there, close to the wall. Come under the oval, up to Ascari, fourth gear. Feather the throttle a little bit on the way in to get the car to set. Pitch it sideways. All right, clear track ahead. Come down to the Parabolica. Slide it sideways there. All right, we'll come to the line. Should be one lap to go this time. It down for the first chicane, down to first gear. Up the gears around the oval. Get it up to fourth gear. Maybe I'll get a lap here at the end with no lap traffic at all. I can see a car pretty far ahead. Just need to time it right for the chicane, the final chicane I have to go through. Down to second gear, down to first. Try not to slide wide again. Make it through the chicane though. Hit both apexes, hit the third one. Back onto the oval, shifted up the gears. This has definitely not been an easy race. There's been a lot happening. It's kind of been the story of who can have the least issues throughout the race, but right at the end here, having so many, it was all going so perfectly up until there. Come down past the Alpha. Should have plenty of space on him. Come down to Curva Grande. Just want to brake right at about the 200, get it down to third gear. Pitch it on the inside, back on the throttle actually to help turn the car. Walk it out to the outside of the track, back to the right side. Try to get some sort of apex there. It's really a non-corner. Then down to first gear for the first of the two Lesmos. Oh, almost losing the front end of the car under braking. Didn't quite rev match enough. Up to second gear. Just glided on through the second Lesmo. To third gear, under the oval, Ascari now, two more corners to go really. Nice and easy through Ascari, long left-hander, pitch it straight towards the Parabolica. In fourth gear, just look for that 300 board, then heavy braking down to third, down to second, and down to first. Slide it on through, then careful on the acceleration on the exit. We'll exit the corner. Somehow, after all that, we're gonna win the 1,000 kilometers at Monza. Come to the line, fist raised. That was not a clean race at all, especially the end. I don't know what happened. It was such a good, consistent race up until that point, but the lap traffic, and then ultimately just missing the brakes, getting nailed from behind. It was really the Lotus that caused me to run the second chicane. So I guess looking back at it, it'll be interesting to see what exactly was my fault, but always can prevent yourself from being in a situation, even if it's not your fault in the actual incident. But nevertheless, coming away with the win there, I'll have to see where everybody else placed, where John Surtees and the 330 ended up coming. Maybe some sort of damage or some issue with the Ferrari would be likely. Bianchi just seemed to be a non-factor the whole race, and out of nowhere, some of the Ford GTs, GT40s and Guy Ligier, it was an absolutely crazy race. So there are the final results. Richie Axelson, Richie Ginther finishing in first place with the Hollman and Moody Ford GT Mark II, 33 laps. Messy race. It always seems to end that way with all of the races so far. It just goes kind of crazy towards the end. I wish it could finish as strong, but definitely a better race overall, I think, than Sebring driving-wise. Just the last few laps could forget about. But still getting that win. And interestingly enough, the other P2 cars nowhere to be found. Second place, Innes Ireland and Chris Amon in the Ford GT40 Mark I for the S2 class, finishing second overall. Herbert Mueller, Willie Marese also finishing in the podium overall in the Ford GT40 Mark I. So it was a 4-day Ford podium at Monza for the 1,000 kilometers. Looking further back, John Surtees finishing in fifth with the Ferrari 330 P3. John Surtees and Mike Parks there. So not a great day for them. Have that spin obviously right in front of us, but who knows what else happened. And Bianchi as well in our class, finishing back in seventh. Still finishing the race though. Surprisingly low attrition overall, only towards the bottom in 22nd with Rico Steinman's car with the Lotus Elan after nailing the back of our car, maybe caused the radiator to explode. But overall, 6 retirees in the whole field. Not too bad for a wet race like that. Winning the P2 class was the two Andres, Andre Wicki and Andre Knorr in the Porsche 906. And for the GT class, Siegfried Zwimpler and Hans Illert winning in the Ferrari 275 GTB. So Ferrari not able to maximize at their home track and only scoring 2 points for that 5th place finish with John Surtees. We take home the 9 points for the win. That's 2 wins on the season for Richie Axelson and Richie Ginther, and then 1 win, of course, from Ken Miles back at Daytona with Lloyd Ruby. So it's a straightforward championship so far. If we win one more race, we'll essentially have a perfect season, and I don't think it could be matched by anybody else unless Ferrari really starts stepping it up. So a damp and cloudy day at Monza, but ultimately comes out in victory, sets us up well for the next races of the season. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again next time.